Welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modies. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys, a 125-mile long chain of islands. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the Keys. Catch Outdoors, hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch Outdoors, number 129. Hello all. Welcome back. And good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you've tuned in the podcast. Past week's been a very summer-like, very summer-like summer. It's been crazy. A bit early, but you won't hear any complaints from the locals, I'm sure. No, they ain't going to be complaining too much. High temp at the house yesterday, which was Saturday, was 88 degrees, and I expect more of that today. Miami recorded 94 with the humidity included. I mean, that's summer, man. That's sweating it. Beaches were packed. Yeah, beaches were packed. Not to mention the sandbar down off of Isla Mirada, the sandbar, as I like to call it. I have never seen that many boats out at the sandbar. It was a perfect day. It was hot, not a lot of wind, and what little wind there was a little more to the southwest. And the boats were not only parked at the sandbar, the traditional sandbar. It was an extremely low tide, so the boats were lined up on every single little bar they could get up against. Spring break, I guess. I don't know, man. Just a pretty day. I'm sure they had a lot to do with it anyway. Today's Sunday. We got another day of that. I'm recording it on Sunday, obviously. And then we get another break in the upcoming week. By the time you listen to this podcast, lows will be back in the 60s and the highs in the upper 70s. There is an extremely slow-moving cold front headed this way, which was supposed to be here this morning on Sunday. Nope, not until Monday midday. It's coming, and they have not mentioned it will stall, which is what happens sometimes with these slow-moving low-pressure systems. They'll come down Florida, and they'll get down to us, and they just go, no, I'm sorry. And they turn around and go back, which pulls moisture in with them, which gives us those wonderful, hot, balmy days. That's what's happened now with the last front. So this one's supposed to pass through, so we'll see what happens. As I mentioned last week, we got some great sunsets going on, which often have to include clouds. Or when you get this kind of weather where you have humidity and cloud buildup and stuff like that, then obviously you're going to get all kinds of wonderful radiant, reds and orange, yellows and pinks. We had all of that last week. We had it last night. So the sunsets and sunrises for that. The sunrises have been really quick. We have this little cloud layer over the Atlantic in the morning now. So when the sun first comes up, it shines underneath. It gives you a pretty spectacular sunrise, but only for about 15, 20 minutes, and then it disappears. Sun goes behind the low layer of clouds. And then it gets pretty in the blue sky, the whole routine. It's the Keys. It's going to be a tad windy again for the first 3 days of next week. I would say not the first 3 days. Monday's when it's coming through, so it should get windy out of the north as soon as that thing passes. But it looks like through Wednesday, they're talking about breeze, only affecting really the people in the far outside and in the open bays. My experience with that is this. If I can get across the bay or hide behind something, I'll go, especially now that the water temperatures are up. Water temperatures are 78 to 80 degrees in most places. Even in the Atlantic, they read an 80 yesterday off of Miami. So that definitely makes the bait move and makes the fish happy and makes me happy. So I'm more inclined to want to go in a breeze, just knowing that the water temperature is warm enough to support bait and all the little fishies. So we'll see what happens. If you're into sunset shots, though, evening this all week, it's just been great. I don't know, after the front, we might lose a little bit of the cloudage and get some sparkling blue skies, but most of the time, this is the time of year you want to get your sunset shots in. As I said, I'm recording this on Sunday, March 10th, just as a reference point. Tides are improving a lot for fishing as we're just getting much, much better with a new moon. It's occurring right now on Sunday. da-da-da-da-da, which means about 4 or 5 days on the other side, we'll still get great tides. And we had pretty good tides up until the new moon is not quite the pull of a full, but it works pretty well. And the new moon tends to last a little longer. The full will give you like 6 days, basically 7, middle being one of those, and then 3 on the other side. The new moon tends to pull water a little longer. However, the amount of water doesn't go up and down as much. It moves quite a bit, but you don't get like from 0 to 3 feet, for example. You might get 1.1 or 2 to maybe 2.4. You know, not a lot of volume, but it moves pretty well. So, water temperatures. 79 degrees in the back and right at 80 in the Atlantic. Like I said, that's a tad high for this time of year. Actually, 80 is usually reserved for mid-April, but a cool down, as I said, is on the way. So I think that'll be fun. You know, my take on temperature in ocean water and in backcountry is if you can get it somewhere between 78 and 85, you're going to score. I mean, that's how it is. Anything much cooler than that, you struggle a little bit. So, some good news. I have firsthand knowledge of fishing. I went fishing. Oh my gosh. Don't fall out of your chairs or anything. Both Tuesday and Thursday of this past week. It was so nice to get back out there. It was also so nice to get back in there in the backcountry. And out in the Atlantic, I did one of each. The winds died down. It got really nice, even though they said it wasn't going to. It did. I love it when they're wrong. Well, I love it when they're wrong in that regard, not the other way around. Tuesday, I fished in a way back in a new location that I've had my eye on for several months. It turned out to be Jack Central. There's no other way to put it. The most maligned of all of the game fish in the state of Florida. Jacks are everywhere. Crevalle jacks. Okay, so the official Crevalle jacks. They are silvery white in color with lots of yellow fins, yellow, all over them, and a mouth and a face that looks mean. They don't look like pompano or permit. They got this scowl on their faces. Similar fish though. All a member of a jack type family of that shape. I've mentioned this a zillion times, and I'm going to do it again. Jacks are just, people just don't like them. I do. And not because they're a day saver. I liked them a lot when I was a guy. They would be a serious day saver. You hook up with an 8, 9, 10 pound jack and you got your hands full on light tackle. You get one in the teens, it's even crazier. Even little ones put up a great fight. Even little bitty 1 pounders put up a pretty good fight. Easy to find, typically. They're crashing bait is usually what's going on. They like that little rain bait, those little baby baits in there. You can also find the birds over them. You watch for ospreys. You'll see the ospreys hovering in an area where there's usually jacks, ladyfish, and the like. But they put up a spectacular fight. They'll eat most any artificial, which makes them fun. They love flies if you're tossing flies. I just don't know where all the hatred came from. I really don't. When I got back in this area, I'm going to say at least 10. I caught at least 10 in this area I went in. And they were spread out. They weren't schooled up, which was interesting. As I worked my way around the mangrove edges, I'd get one and make 3 or 4 casts with nothing, and all of a sudden, bang, get another one. From little to very nice. I think the largest was 7 pounds, which is a real decent jack. And I had maybe 3 or 4 of that size, and the rest were, 12, 13, 14 inches long. But it was fun. Mixed in with all that, I got 1 tarpon in the area, so I was happy to see a junior tarpon up there. This one was, I didn't measure him, but I'm going to guess high 20s, 27, 28 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. Great fight. Got him right up against the mangrove where I did not expect to find him. He must have been cruising the edge and tried to take me in the mangroves, but I won. Got a nice photo of him and let him go, or her, or it, whatever it might have been. No more, though. A lot of times when you get a small tarpon like that, you're going to find at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 others in the same vicinity. So I stuck it out for 30 or 40 minutes without another. I got another jack or 2, but I didn't get another tarpon. So I thought that was kind of weird. No snookers. Not really surprised because the bait was really thin in that area. I saw finger mullet, not big schools of it, just occasional flashes. and the little, what I call rain bait, which are those minnows. I mean, tiny little things. You can't net these things. They're so small. And I assumed that the jacks were probably feeding on those because I'd see those blow up out of the water every now and then. And I figured that's what was up. But the snookers weren't around. White bait's on the way, pilchards. That's probably the most popular, not probably, it is the most popular bait around here, live bait in the backcountry. And it's just not thick yet. I saw where someone was finding it and mentioned, oh my gosh, I found some, but I wasn't able to black out the well, which tells me they probably made several throws to get what they got. So give it a little more time. Things warm up. It'll happen. It will happen, no doubt. In all cases, I was using Berkeley Gulp. That would be this little swimming mullet. In the pink shine, which I switched back to white during the day for about a half hour and just did not get the response I got on that shine. So I'm getting more and more convinced that adding a little pink is good. I'm looking around for an artificial that's hot pink, and I've found a couple that I think will work, and I really want to switch it out completely and see what happens if I just go to hot pink. I'm also a big fan, I've mentioned this before too, the Twitch and Mullet by Rapala, depending on where you're from. Rapala is the way most people pronounce it on TV. That Twitch and Mullet's awesome. There's two sizes, a smallish one and a little bit larger. I don't know the exact size. I'm going to guess 2.5 to 3.5, 4 inches, maybe. But the body coloring is really good. They have one that's pilcher and they have one that's looks just like a pinfish, among others. The usual strange colors. You don't know where in the hell they came up with it, but they probably work. Lots of flash in these things. The wiggle is fantastic. They're basically they're a jerk bait. They sink under maybe a foot into the water column after casting. Just kind of let it ride a little bit. They also use single hooks, which I like. J hooks instead of using the trebles. Much easier to release a fish. And I've caught everything on them. Every fish that I've, well, like if you know my trials and tribulations from listening to the podcast, I have yet to catch a redfish in the backcountry in the Key Largo area. There's lots of them down by Alamorada and up in the brown water, as I call it, the mud flats up at the top, up snake bite and those there. But I cannot locate one down here in Key Largo. I'm feeling like, anyway, maybe I won't figure it out. Maybe they ain't here. I don't know. I doubt that. But that Twitch and Mullet, I get them, try them. They're really great. Pick a color that matches the hatch, something that you're used to seeing in the water is the best way to go. I've also found that the darker colors work on the darker days. If you got a cloudy, overcast day, you might switch off pilcher and stuff and just put one on that's that rusty color or that rusty red mixed in, brown, something like that. That tends to work a little better than the shiny ones do on those off-color days. So I'll call that your tip of the day. Or maybe not. There might be others. On Thursday, 2 days later, wind died completely. So guess where I went? Yep, my first trip out to the Patch Reefs in ages. And man, it was fun. Let me tell you what. The first 9 drops to the bottom produced fish. See, that's the thing. Nothing was spectacular. I'll admit it. I had a whole mess of fish at 12, 13 inches, stuff like that. But no keepers, but it was fun to put a little chunk of shrimp on a hook and drop it down the bottom on a bottom rig, and just have something hit it before you can barely get the bail closed on the reel. Kind of missed that. Fish mostly in 20 feet of water. Fish the patches, kind of looking for the little spots in between the rock areas, so those little holes and things that open up. And of course, the water was clear enough after no rain to see the bottom in 20 feet of water. It doesn't hurt to turn the depth finder on and see what's going on down there, but you could literally see where you wanted to drop stuff. And whole mess of yellowtail, some mutton snapper. What else did I get? I'm trying to think. Schoolmasters, some grunts. Just a mixture. The yellowtail were hilarious, though. I got everything from 5 inches long to 13. It was the weirdest mix. Some areas, nothing but little things. And I have no idea how many I caught. It just doesn't matter. I only spent about 4 hours out there till the wind came up. So I started fishing around 7:38, and I was back by noon. Wind came up pretty good, much better than advertised. I had a bit of a bumpy ride back inshore, but when you fish here in the Keys to get to the Patch Reefs, you're only 4 or 5 miles out. It's not like you're, 20, 25 miles, so it's not that big a deal, but it was such a pleasure to get it back out there. I fished a whole new area because, like I said, I like learning. I'm retired now. I don't need to take people fishing. I'm not a guide. So now it's just me. And if I get a bunch of fish, great. And if I don't, it's a learning experience. And so I went all the way up by Carey's Fort Light. That's a lighthouse that's way up off almost Ocean Reef. So it's north Key Largo, north of me, even where I live, north of me. So I ran out the canal and I went north up toward Carey's Fork and fished those. There are enormous beds of reefs out there. Everything from as shallow as 2 feet to as much as 25. It's really remarkable how many bumps there are. There's all kinds of warning buoys out there. There's buoys sitting on top of patches that would be bad at low tide. So, but the fishing was great out there. I had a great time. It was a gorgeous day. Didn't see a lot of boats. That was the other surprising thing. I think other people were doing other stuff south, perhaps, or going all the way out to the hump in the bigger boats. So I think I only saw 1 or 2 other boats the whole morning I was out there on Thursday, and that's also a good thing. So the plan is to get out on Wednesday of this coming week. So today being Sunday, Monday's the front, Tuesday will blow, Wednesday might blow, and I might not be able to do it. So we'll just kind of see. So I'm playing Wednesday, Thursday time frame, and maybe as late as Friday. I don't have anything really scheduled for this week. Thank goodness. First time in a while. I can't wait to tell you what I did this week. Daylight savings time is upon us once more. Boo-hoo. I'm not a fan. But it seems, despite leanings from many politicians, it's here to stay. I mean, for the longest time, since I lived over in Fort Myers, which is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Yeah, I think it's about 5 years ago when I left Fort Myers. Came over to Lauderdale and then wound up down here in Key Largo. They've been talking about this, just stopping it, making it go away. Just keep 1 clock time and just run with it. The excuse for daylight savings times isn't valid anymore. It was built around farmers and farming, and it's just the goofiest thing. But we'll get it, and then they don't. So whatever. It's like they're arguing over the legality of pot now again. Oh, maybe we should do it. No, maybe we shouldn't. Yeah, maybe we should. Back and forth. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Anyway, lose sleep this time around because you got to set the clock up. So it messed with our cats. I like that. Our cats like to try to wake us up at 5 in the morning. You don't need an alarm clock in this house. Well, this morning it woke us up at 6:09, new time. Little do they know. If we can keep that up, we'll be okay until they've set the clocks back, and then it'll be a disaster. But and it probably drives dogs crazy too. I'm not a dog owner, and I don't have to walk a dog, but I'll bet it drives the dogs just as crazy as it does cats. So now it's dark in the morning. 7 a.m. I look outside, and it's dark. Ridiculous. So fishing's going to have to start back just a little bit more. I don't want to put lights on I have lights. I can put them on the boat and go. I don't like traveling in the dark if I don't have to, and I don't have to. So now I got to wait a little bit to go put the boat in the water. Some interesting news. Oh, yeah, I want to pass this along. There is a new, huge mermaid representing the Lorelei restaurant and Cabana bar down in Islamorada. Who knew? I didn't even know it was coming. I started hearing about it about a week ago. I'm like, really? We get a new mermaid out front. For those that are not familiar, Lorelei is the gathering place in Islamorada. It used to be the big-time boat place, guides, all that stuff running around. It still has a bit of that, but the ramp is no longer open there. But it's still, they got a beautiful beach with the little cabana stuff out there and umbrellas and all that stuff. And it's really nice. And it's a hangout. If you want to know what's going on in Islamorada fishing-wise, it's a great place to hang out, especially up by the bar. You get to hear all the fish stories. They have Lorelei that's mermaid, in case you look it up. I'm not going to go into the history of what Lorelei is all about and mermaids. And so they have this huge representative mermaid out front. I mean, huge. This thing is originally it's probably every bit of 25 feet tall and twice that in width. It's like a billboard, and it's painted. I remember this. I think this is my 4th version of the mermaid. I remember when in the 90s, early 90s, there was one that had glitter all over it. It had like I don't know what like reflective CDs, of multicolors, so it would the whole tail would reflect these colors. It was pretty cool. And then a painted one came along, and then Weiland came along, the famous artist. He came along and dressed that one up. He kind of redid it. That wasn't. It was like 2020, 2021, somewhere back in there. Well, this one's done by a local artist. They just changed it up again. So we have a new one. It was unveiled on Saturday up on Alamorada. Janelle and I went. Janelle did the photographs and the unveiling. I sat at the bar and talked to people, which is fun. I love sitting at the bar at the Lorelei. The new one, actually, what Weiland did, all Weiland really did is, as I remember, he fixed the scales on the tail, and then he fixed the hair. He made the hair longer and kind of more wild on the mermaid. This most recent one is done by an artist. Her name is Jewel Jankowski, and she spells her name Jul. So if you're looking up Jewel, it's Jul, Jankowski. She's a local artist from here in Alamorada in the Keys, and it's beautiful. The consensus from everyone, and when they unveiled it, was like, wow, that's really nice. She's longer than the other mermaids, so it's kind of just the overall size appears bigger. Pretty face, bright red lipstick, blonde hair. I mean, she just looks great, and everybody in the whole place was, oh, that's really cool. They had the Tipsy Mermaid drinks available, samples, I'd call it, out front. The place was hopping. It was really, really something. So you get a chance, go online, check it out. I'll probably post a picture of her. I usually do my pictures that go along with the podcast on Catch You Outdoors Facebook page. And I usually get them up either late Tuesday. The release of the podcast is Tuesday mornings at 5 a.m. So usually by sometime late Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll have a companion photographs up of what I'm talking about today. And I'll be sure to have a picture of it on there for you. So anyway, really cool. I love going up there. Love going to the Lorelei. And while I was there at the bar next to me, was a guy named Jeff. And Jeff's a liveaboard, lives out on a Columbia sailboat. Been doing it for 8 years in Alamorada. He bugs out, he told me July, August, sometimes August, September, and goes back to his home state of Maine and hangs out there with friends while it's too hot to be on a boat down here. I always wondered about that. How in the world are you going to survive in a boat down here in the summer? That answered one question. He was quite a character, really fun to talk to. About his sailing adventures and where he's been, and been a sailor, I would say, all his life. He's been on all kinds of craft, and I believe he said he's getting ready to do the catamaran this time and get rid of the single hull because there's so much more space inside a cat. And I can tell you that for sure. I've been on them. The center salon and the after deck is much larger than a monohull boat. But anyway, he was fun to talk to. Jeff, if you happen to be listening, man, it was great talking to you. What else happened? Oh, earlier that day, the Marathon Seafood Festival started. That was also on Saturday. Started at 10 a.m. in the morning, and I didn't get to go. Bummer. So Janelle did. I have this little deal where I have to be around the house. My medicines, my cancer stuff shows up, and they shipped it to get here on a Saturday. Normally it's a weekday. And I couldn't go down there because it's one of those FedEx things you have to sign for it. They have to make sure you got it and the neighbor didn't get it, that kind of thing. So I was stuck at the house until the delivery came, and then I scooted down to the Lorelei. But Janelle said it was really good, fantastic as usual. They had a fighter jet flyover, for the opening ceremonies, and then they had the usual batch of. This is really good now, y'all. It's a reasonably priced seafood pig out. Mahi, shrimp, lobster, stone crabs, along with the extras like hush puppies and all corn and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's one of the few places where you can do mahi, shrimp, lobster, and stone crab all on the same plate for a very reasonable price. So if you are in the vicinity of Marathon in March, keep an eye out for early March. Keep an eye out for the seafood festival. I wish I could have gone. It just kills me. But we made up for it later. After the Lorelei, we had two cars. I said, she said, no, she did it. She said, let's meet at the fish house. And I'm like, okay. twist my arm. So we went to the Fish House and got there about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We beat the crowd, got a couple bar seats, which is you should have seen them flooding in behind us. We were the early birds, but it was worth it. I had my usual Spiegel Grove martini, which I absolutely love. It's gotten to the point now where the bartender sees me come in and she just goes on and makes one, which I love. We had, Janelle had the yellowtail matacumbe, which is yellowtail snapper, cooked matacumbe style. It's, trust me, it's delicious. I had grilled swordfish and, of course, black beans and rice. That's two of my favorite things, to be honest with you. So had a good time and then headed home. And at the house, we celebrated my 8th birthday. You're scratching your head? Huh? You're wondering what? Yeah, I'm 8 years old. That has to do with the stem cell transplant I got 8 years ago yesterday. That's what they call my new birthday. When you get a stem cell transplant, they wipe you clean. Basically, if they don't put something back in you, you're going to die. Let's just put it that way. And then they put the stem cells back in, and they start to grow back. And when they do, you're basically born again. Sorta. Yeah, I guess you are. It's a rebirth, if you will. It's so severe and takes everything away from your system so badly, so much. I guess it's good, actually. So much is they have to revaccinate you for all your childhood vaccinations. Everything. Measles, mumps, rubella, yeah, chickenpox, all that fun stuff. And I had to go in like a kid. You go in and you get some at 6 months, you get some at 9 months, a year, 1 year. You get your boosters. They literally wipe you out. Well, 8 years is how long it was since I've had it. It's still working. Y'all just put your hands together and pray for me. I appreciate that very much. I'm really happy to still be here because I honestly believe that saved my life. There's no doubt about it. So, but anyway, that's what we did. We got home. We celebrated my 8th birthday. She went to Publix and picked up a carrot cake, which I happen to like a lot. And we sat there, and she even got a candle, a number 8 on it. Put the candle on the cake, and oh well, yeah, it's great. I got 2 birthdays. I turned 70 and 8, all in the same year. Go figure. New thought: have you ever heard of the musical play Disenchanted? I admit I hadn't. It started a run on Off-Broadway and was a huge hit. A huge hit. I went back and read some reviews and stuff. It was back in 2016, late 15, early 16 is when it hit Broadway. It is a musical play. It's a musical about the disenchantment of Disney princesses. And they all tell their stories musically of how it sucks to be a princess. And it is without a doubt one of the most hilarious, funny things I have ever watched. I laughed for 2 hours, and all the people in the theater laughed for 2 hours. It was so well done. What made this so unique and interesting is this is being put on by the Marathon, down in Marathon, at their Playhouse, the Marathon Community Theater. And which I really need to preface this by saying it's all local talent. There's no big star that comes in from out of town, no big star that comes in from anywhere. They're all marathoners. Does that work? Marathoners? Yeah, sounds good. It can be captains, policemen, nurses, doctors, worker bees, teachers, whatever. You come in for auditions when the plays are announced, and you audition for the play, and then da-da-da. And then, of course, this one had to all be singers, and it had to all be girls. So they all had to play princesses. So it had to be females, and they all have to be able to sing because it's obviously a musical. And it was fantastic. I can't believe how much talent there is in Marathon. You look. It's an island, for crap's sake. It's a little island. It's one of the largest of the Florida Keys, but still having all these people in this one place put this play on. I laughed. It was hilarious. The music is great. The songs are really funnier and all get out. It's rated PG-13. I would not recommend taking a child to it who is a Disney princess fan. They'll come away looking real soured. So don't do that. But for us adults, it was hilarious. And I'd highly recommend it. Let's see. I got the dates here. 13 shows starting March 14th and running until April the 6th. There are some skips in there. Remember, there's local people that work for a living doing this, but there are 13 shows altogether starting March 14th and ending on April the 6th. And if I remember right, it was like $33 a ticket. And it's a nice small theater. There is no bad seat. You have floor seating and there's a balcony. So I'd highly recommend it. I'm toying with the idea of going back down there and watching it again. This was press night that we were there. This was pre-release. And it's a tough crowd. They got a standing ovation from the press, which ought to tell you how good it was. So anyway, I'm thinking about going back down there and watch it again. That was a real grin. This time playing that in the dinner, staying down there for the evening in Marathon. But anyway, check it out. My newest song, Blue Rendezvous, will be released on Spotify on the 13th. It should hit other streaming music providers a day after the initial release. I'm really proud of this one. I am. I'm not patting myself on the back. What I'm saying is that my producer did an awesome job of my song. So a big time thanks actually goes out to Billy Davidson. His ability to take what starts as a simple song and make it into something special is truly amazing. The artist on there, I don't play on this one. This is one I wrote and handed it over to Billy. And I kind of I don't mind singing, but it's not my bag. I would much rather write the songs and then listen to somebody perform it and grin. I don't know. It's a feel-good thing. Lead vocals on this one are sung by Natalie Davidson. If that sounds familiar, the Davidson part, that's his daughter. That's Billy's daughter, and she does a fantastic job on the song. She even does harmonies. So she overdubbed the harmonies, and it's fantastic. Guitars, Billy takes care of that. And other stringed instruments, things like that. Bass, Jake Capozzolo, thank you very much. Drums and percussion by Robbie Spagnoletti, thank you very much. Pedal steel, Dana Keller, an extremely talented pedal steel player who has played on Michael Jackson and Marvin Gaye and a lot of other people like that. He's a remarkable pedal steel player. And the mixing was done by Steve Webb, Billy's singing and playing partner at the Lorelei. If you haven't seen Webb and Davidson play, they play about three nights a week, I believe, down at the Lorelei. You might want to check them out. But thank you all for Billy, thank you so much for putting it all together, and for your daughter, Natalie. She did a wonderful job. Let me know what y'all think. Yes, we're already working on another one. Billy says you got to have 9 songs to do an album. That sounds like a challenge. Yeah, to me, that sounds like a challenge. I mentioned this past 2 podcasts. I have found boxes of books. I have all 3 of my books available. They have been selling, but I've still got 15, 20 copies of each, I think. So you can go on catchoutdoors.com. Page 4 is books, and you'll see them there. They all have special pricing. They'll be signed. These are second pressings, but original cover stuff. They're not Amazon and that kind of thing. These are I call them real books, for lack of a better description. But anyway, go to section 4 and check it out. If you want to get one soon, and I'd be happy to ship that at no charge. And now it's time for some useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
So here we go. And thank you, Rick, for the intro. Appreciate it. Number 1, Tom Sawyer was the first novel written on a typewriter. Number 2, kind of goes hand in hand with number 1. Samuel Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, author of Tom Sawyer, was born in 1935 when Halley's Comet appeared. He died in 1910 when Halley's Comet returned. How about that? That's useless. I don't know. Number 3, Sherlock Holmes never said, "Elementary, my dear Watson." I did not know that. I'm surprised, but there it is. Hopefully that'll hold you for another week until we do this again. I think it might be safe to put away the sweaters and sweatshirts now. Keeping my fingers crossed that the warmer weather is here to stay. I know Floridians are wimps when it comes to temperatures below 60 and below 70 down here in the Keys. It's time for those cold fronts to stall just north of the Georgia-Florida line. Please, please, please stop. We've had enough. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Facebook page is Catch Outdoors. The website is catchoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous broadcasts and a schedule of what's to come. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.